Becker's philosophy, as it emerges in denial of death and escape from evil, is a braid woven from four strands. The first strand, the world is terrifying. To say the least, Becker's account of nature has little in common with Walt Disney. Mother Nature is a brutal bitch, red in tooth and claw, who destroys what she creates. That's intense. The world is terrifying, to say the least. Becker's account of nature has little in common with Walt Disney. Mother Nature is a brutal bitch, red in tooth and claw, who destroys what she creates. It's so deep, it's so interesting, because it's like a state of complete disillusionment. You are trying to see the world as it is without having glasses of cultural conditioning, in front of your eyes. You're trying to really go past all the gold and the silver and the shiny things that life offers. You're trying to go beyond the idea of just a comfortable life, happy life in a very small corner of your imagination, of your palace, internal palace, and ignoring what's outside of it. It's interesting. I think it reminds me of this video I saw once of I forgot the name of the director, Werner Herzog, I believe, where he's standing in a jungle, and he's talking about that jungle looks such a awesome place. There's life, activity everywhere. It's greenery, it's beautiful, it's serene. There are places where there are rivers, and jungle looks like an amazing place, a lively place to be. But Herzog really talks about the cruel nature happening behind that jungle, the beauty of it, the facade of it, that there are creatures killing each other, destroying each other, and just attacking each other. There are parasites, and there's a horror that's going completely unnoticed to the human dimension. And this horror is homicide. This horror is genocidal, and it's just an intense place in terms of the evil and the suffering that's being portrayed right there in the jungle. But from a human perspective, it looks like the serene thing where there are some butterflies going around, and this vision that you have to see the world and realize that it's terrifying is an important one. I think he'll develop this over the book. We live, he says, in a creation in which the routine activity for organisms is tearing others apart with teeth of all types. Such interesting thing that Mother Nature is a brutal bitch in a creation in which the routine activity, it says it's a routine thing, right? It just happens over and over again. It's happening not from this year or last year or last decade or 100 years or 10,000 or million years. It's happening since the beginning of life itself. That life feeds on other things. It feeds on other organisms, both sentient and non-sentient, in ways that can be thought of as almost a nature of the thing. It's happening for so long now. That's why it's called a routine activity for organisms. Tearing others apart with teeth of all types, biting, grinding flesh, plant stalks, bones between molars, pushing the pulp greedily down the gullet with delight. A lion, when it's ripping off gazelle, doesn't feel a morality in its mind. It doesn't feel that it's right or wrong. The lion has to stay fed if it wants to survive. He wants to take care of its own family, of the cubs. A lion doesn't have a sense of morality when it comes to ripping off a gazelle. The morality for lion, if there's a morality to be used, it is to do what is right to feed the stomach. If lion sees you, it's going to attack you. Doesn't care if you're a human being or you. Obviously, lions can be trained in different ways, but the activity, but the instinct, the morality really is in the idea that it has to kill that gazelle and just enjoy its meat to feed to its cubs. Incorporating its essence into one's own organization and then excreting with foul stench and gases the residue. Wow, this is like Becker is trying to really bring you in the present moment. It says, look at it, just give up all illusion, see what you are. You live in a terrifying world. uh, the mother nature that we sort of try to adore is a brutal bitch. It's just completely red in tooth and claw, where animals stalk each other, where they kill each other with their parasites, and they greedily, push down that content down the gullet with delight, and they incorporate the essence into one's own organization. And not just that, you're an animal, you shit, right? And then excreting with foul stench and gases the residue. It's bringing you directly in touch with the animal side of you, animal side of nature, which we sort of have lost in our high culture. We have lost because we have become more symbolic creatures. We live not in a world of the body anymore. We live in a world of ideas. Even if we think that we work on our body, we're actually trying to connect with the body. We are trying to fulfill an idea of what a body should look like. uh, you know Today, most people who go to gym don't go to gym because they want to feel healthy, all right, because they want to be healthy, or they want to really be in touch with their body, and help the body, assist the body, believe that there's a union between their mind and the body. No, it's none of that. They go to gym because they saw someone on Instagram who looks really jacked up, who looks really pumped up, and they want to become that person. It's no longer about the body anymore. It's about fulfilling an idea. It's about fulfilling a sort of a predefined notion of what they carry around in their mind. And this is not same as respecting your body, of getting your work done, of being with connected to your own mind and body paradigm. It's not none about that. It's we live in a world of ideas, and Becker is bringing us into the world of animal, in the world of who we are as a species. This was the first strand. The second strand, the basic motivation for human behavior is our biological need to control our basic anxiety, to deny the terror of death. Human beings are naturally anxious because we are ultimately helpless and abandoned in a world where we are fated to die. This is such an awesome thing. The first strand is that saying, look at reality. It's terrifying. You're creatures, you're animals. It's a world where, power is just might, and it's a terrible place because it's almost out of a nightmare. This is the first strand of Becker's analysis. The second strand is that the motivation, the deep motivation of human beings is that we're trying to fight against an anxiety which to its deepest core is regarding the ambiguity of what life is, and the idea that you can die, right? Because in your mind you don't feel like you have expiration date in a temporal fashion. Like, if you just think of, if you imagine yourself into the future, you can technically imagine yourself to be 1,000 years into the future, 10,000 in the future. If you're a science fiction writer, you might be able to imagine yourself 100,000 years into the future, of what civilization would look like, of what people would look like, what life would look like, what technology would look like. You can subjectively really carry yourself into a temporal idea of what the world would look like 1,000 years from now. Yet the fact is that biologically, the being that you are, the animal, the stenching, the gas residue filled animal that you are, you have expiration date. You cannot bullshit your way up with your body. You cannot do that. The body has an expiration date. This body is about to die. This body has an expiration date. Think of that. Think of that. Think of this. Like, what is this? Look at this. This is expiration date. I don't know what this is. It has its own control. This thing will be dead one day. It'll be lying there somewhere. I want to transcend it. Yet I cannot transcend it because this is what I am. What I am. If a character... Oh fuck, this is insane. One idea here is that, can identity exist without body, if identity is a character defense that happens because we are a body, so the body is involved in creating the wall that is called an identity, that is called a self, that's called an ego. Without the body, the consciousness has no incentive to invent an ego, right? Without the limitation of the body, without the limitations of being ugly, or without limitation of being happy or sad or poor or rich, being born in social class, these are the limitations because you exist as a body in the world, and consciousness has to really adapt itself if it want to function. And that what it does to adapt is what we call a character defense, which is technically the identity of the human being itself. So it's not easy, I would say, to fathom that it may not be possible to separate the body out of the identity, because identity is a bodily thing. It's created with bodily intentions. If you were to separate that out, if you want to maintain the identity, the character defense identity is, you'll have to port the idea of the body itself into a simulation. If the identity is the character defense, then the transitioning of that character defense has to happen in a digital format as well, which means even if you were to achieve a virtual immortality, you would still have to behave as if you are mortal, because that's what your character defense depends on, which you call identity. So it's an interesting thing. Human beings are naturally anxious because we are ultimately helpless and abandoned in a world which we are fated to die. This is the terror, to have emerged from nothing, to have a name, consciousness of self, deep inner feelings, an excruciating inner yearning for life and self-expression, and with all this, yet to die. It's beautiful. This is the terror, to have emerged from nothing, to have a name, consciousness of self, deep inner feelings, an excruciating inner yearning for life and self-expression, and with all this, yet to die. The third strand, since the terror of death is so overwhelming, we conspire to keep it unconscious. That makes sense, right? Because the idea that you are a character, the idea that you have a character defense, which is fashioned on the structure that your body is, and this structure is what creates identity. So obviously, if you want the identity to keep going, which is the reason why I created the identity, because you want to avoid just being lost in the world. If you want to keep identity going, you have to repress those things. You have to not think about those things that would put this character that you've invented into death. Kill the character, basically, right? If you kill the character, you may die, because you are the character. You are a person who is trying to act in an extremely structured way, which you have created out of nothing. It's an ego that's created. With the vital lie of character is the first line of defense that protects us from the painful awareness of our helplessness. It calls a vital lie of character. Why is it a lie? It's a lie because it's an invention of the body, of the consciousness carried in the body, of the awareness that it's a limiting thing, and it has to form a character defense to be able to become a social being, to be able to navigate the world. Without the character, you would be like a madman. You will have no coherent identity. You will have no coherent sense, coherent self. So you'll be like a person who is just drift apart. Like maybe you're, like for example, schizophrenics or psychotic people, right? They are just completely out of their touch with their fucking mind. They're lost. And if you have to be able to exist in the world, you have to create a character, and that character is a lie, but it's a vital lie. It's a vital because Without that character, without that lie that you have told yourself, you wouldn't exist. So it's a very interesting. It's the first line of defense. Every child borrows powers from adults and creates a personality by introjecting the quality of the godlike being. Very, very interesting, right? This is another idea that we live on borrowed powers. When people say things like, okay, this is who I am, all right, or this is what makes me me, or I have a passion, or I have a dream, or I have this or that thing, these things are not generated by you. You cannot generate these things because the very identity that you are was not generated by you. It was given to you through your nature or through your nurture. Whatever you are is a combination of that, and that it did not exist prior to you. It came with the body, it came with being born, and it's a white life character. But because the body has to function, because we have a mind that can think of things, it bullshits it. It bullshits itself by telling itself a lie over and over again that this is what you are. Okay, and the mind does that so that it is able to survive in the world. Okay, it is able to survive in the world, and it does that by borrowing power, by borrowing ideas, by imitation. Okay, by imitating what other people around it does, it tries to create a unique amalgamation of these ideas, these powers, which Becker calls borrowed powers, and it creates a personality by introjecting the quality of the godlike being. And who are the godlike beings when the child is born? The parents. The parents are right there. The parents have a lot of influence on children, and most of the psychological disease can actually be traced back to childhood. Why is that? Because childhood is where you are exposed to the earliest foundations of what would become your identity, your character defense. And the character defense only gets more putrefied, more strange, more rigid, more structured over a period of time. And you become that thing, and you try to live on godlike being. If I am like my all-powerful father, I will not die. Alright? So long as we stay obediently within the defense mechanism of our personality, what William Reich calls a character armor. It's an armor, it's technically an armor, a mental armor. Obviously it's not a physical armor at all, it's a mental armor. We feel safe and are able to pretend that the world is manageable. We're able to pretend that the world is manageable. It's a lie, it's a fallacy, it's not a fucking fact. That the world is structured, the world is an abrupt place, it's a place full of absurdity. Anything at any time, everything is going good. The next day you hear the news that 3,000 people died in an earthquake, or 20,000 people drowned in a fucking river, in drought, sort of droughts happened, it killed a lot of people, genocide happened, world war happened. All of this shit is not logical, all of this shit is not practical. It's this disease that we're trying to get away from, and a character armor is trying to protect us against that, and it's a vital thing for life to happen. But the price we pay is high. Becker is saying the price that we pay to maintain that character armor is extremely high, because whatever we have become, whatever structure that we have become because of these bodies, because of the limitation of these bodies, because it cannot fight, because it has created this lie in the mind of the body. It's an identity, it has some volition, has some action potential. It's a price that we pay is high because we bullshit ourselves, right? We repress our bodies to purchase a soul that time cannot destroy. Fuck, man. Fuck. That's fucking deep. Fuck. We repress our bodies to purchase a soul that time cannot destroy. We sacrifice pleasure to buy immortality. What sacrifice do? We sacrifice the pleasure of Eden. That's what it's trying to say. When we are children, we do whatever the fuck we want to do. Okay? I want something I don't get, I'm gonna fucking scream. I don't give a 10 fucks who is sitting next to me. I don't give a fuck we're in a party. I don't give a fuck we are in a fundraiser. I don't give a fuck we're in a funeral. I don't give a fuck. I have no character defense. I have no sense of what is right, what is wrong. I have no sense of what is true, what is bad. All I know is I feel pain and I want something that will stop my pain. That's the only thing a child knows. Child has no other need. Child has no structure in mind to feel other needs. And at that time, we are in Eden because we are who we are. We are animal. We are two animals and we just do whatever we want. We scream, we gnaw, we irritate the other person without worrying about it. Why? Because we want to get what we want. And we sacrifice that pleasure. We sacrifice the Eden-ness of it over time because our bodies have to be able to navigate themselves in the world to buy mortality. We encapsulate ourselves to avoid death. And this lie that we have created. See, in some sense, madmen are people who have lost their fucking minds, okay, who are not anywhere in the mind, are more closer to reality than normal humans are. Why are they close to reality? Because they are what their body is. They'll do whatever they want to satisfy the needs. Whatever they need, if they're hungry, they'll come to you, ask for it, or do something. They'll just do whatever to do what they have. They have no character armor, no character defense. They have no sense of morality, no right or wrong. They are really true to who they are. They are an animal. It's an interesting thing. And life escapes us when we huddle within the defended fortress of character. This is the fucking terror. That we have to create a character. We are born with a character armor, a character identity. What I call I, myself. I could have been 50, 100, 1,000, or 10,000 different entities. I could have been a different person, a different phenomenological experience could have happened in my mind. But the way I was born, the way I was treated, the way I went through life, the people I met, my experiences, my insecurities, my anxieties, the problem that I faced, things I cannot justify, all these things have contributed into making a personality but who I am. I could easily have been something different. I could easily have been an extremely more confident person, for example. I extremely could have been a more sociable person. I could have been. But the character defense that was set in stone to some degree in the early childhood and the experience that it had on the body, on what it was learning, has made the person who I am right now. And that's the character defense. Society provides the second line of defense against the natural impotence by creating a hero system that allows us to believe that we transcend death by participating in something of lasting worth. So the first of all, the fucking body, the poor little fucking the organism that the baby is, that is born, that baby is born in the world of terror, absolute fucking monstrous motherfucking insane terror, and the birth is not justified. The point is that the birth is not justified because it's just too much for a conscious being to comprehend. It's too insane, it's too maddening, it's too isolation ridden, it's just too crazy to be a worthwhile world. But yet the child is born in that, and the world works in order to shape the character defense, the character armor, or the identity that the person adopts. And the person has to adopt it because the person is the fucking terrified of the world. And this character armor is in some sense gives you a sense of immortality. like we talked about the temporal immortality that it gives you. The second immortality, so that was not enough, as if, okay, your ego wasn't enough, right? It was see, when you have an ego, your true life was already dead in some sense, because you have produced this, your body has produced this character, which is a vital life that it needs, and this character has already you as a student already been defeated, because now you're bound by something, you're bound within a potentiality of who you are and who you're supposed to be. As if that wasn't enough, society comes along and it gives you more things to burden your poor soul with. It gives you a hero system, it gives you ideas of what it means to be immortal being, what it means to be a mature being, what it